What was the idea behind this book? Means we know David Headley, we know Tawhur Rana. Then there are various dots that needs to be connected when it comes to the Samjhauta blast or Mumbai terror attack. So, what was the idea? A retired colonel getting into this, book related to Saffron Terror and in a way claimed to be a fiction, but still there is. I remember, the extradition of Abu Saleh, that was from Portugal. And that was another difficult thing when Mr. Advani was Home Minister.
Yes,
and,
yes.
So because only after 2018 we could actually pursue this case, because till 2018 it was the US courts who were actually and
Even now, US does not extradite people abroad. When Kalam Purohit was branded as a terrorist by ATS, I said, "Bahut ho gaya. That is too much." Because I'll tell you another thing. Not only since 1947, ever in Indian Army, a officer was never ever a terrorist.
So how did you try to connect the dots as far as the way planning? Because there are three different plots that actually you are trying to connect. One is Malegaon, the other is
Samjhauta blast,
and then the third is Mumbai. So you mean to say that post 2002-3 onwards, this was a systematic plot by Pakistan
You
to
see, I get your point.
conceive
I get, yeah,
this
I get
idea of Saffron Terror?
Yeah, I get your point. You see what had happened? Digvijay Singh, soon after 26/11, went and launched a book, 26/11 RSS ki Sajish. I mean, it is not done. You do not work against the national interest of the country. That is a no-go.
We safely say that the Saffron Terror plot was conceived in Rawalpindi, but actually popularized by Congress. Namaste and welcome to another episode of Meet the Author. This time, the book is a bit different. If you want to call it a fiction, it is a fiction, but there is a true story behind it. If you have heard about the movie Match Fixing, then this is a must-read book to get the real idea. And now, as one of the masterminds of Mumbai terror attack, Tawhur Rana has been extradited from the US to India. This story has become all the more important. And therefore, we decided to host today the author of this book, The Game Behind Saffron Terror, Colonel Kanwar Khatana. Colonel Saab is a veteran, but he's also an acclaimed author. And to get insights about the real story behind this fiction, we have with us an army veteran who is going to throw some light about this dreaded plot. I don't know whether I should name individuals and the political parties, but we'll listen from Colonel sir. Sir, welcome to Organiser, and thank you for sparing.
Dhanyavad.
So, Colonel Saab, first come first. How do you see this Tawhur Rana's extradition, and why and how diplomatically or strategically it is important?
You see, extradition of Tawhur Rana is very important, or was important ab initio right from the beginning. That it happened after many years is a different story. Could he have been got back a little early? I wonder. For many reasons, the then US administration and the then Indian government. So, but At the end, it has happened. You see, it will help us a lot to unravel the real story. After Kasab, he is the second man we got back alive to understand what really happened. You see, NIA team had gone and interrogated Hadley. But firstly, that interrogation report was not made public. Secondly, as I have been given to understand, the then NIA IG who was part of the interrogation team was told to change few portions, which he refused. And then he was sent back to his parent cadre. I do not know. I cannot really authenticate that, but this is what made news at that point in time. You see, what we will get to know from Rana's interrogation is, if you see the way these terrorists came into India, they landed by sea. No one stopped them till the time they reached their targets. It's not possible. 10 men coming with rifles, not hidden. The rifles were not hidden. They were coming with rifles, with backpack, traveling a couple of kilometers to reach their targets, passing through a basti. I mean, it's not possible. Irrespective of what time you travel, especially in Mumbai, it's not possible. It means there were people to help them out. Who were those people? We don't really know. Rana will tell us. You know, he will give us information on who were his contacts in India, in criminal world, in political world, and maybe even in the police setup.
Even sleeper cells.
Sleeper cells, that's what I'm saying. Sleeper cells. So he will give us those contacts and we'll get to know how these people made a safe passage all the way from Karachi to Mumbai. Secondly, he will tell us about ISI. You see, he is ex-Pakistani army officer. He was a doctor actually. His wife is also a doctor. So he has been, possibly what we understand, he has been in communication with ISI. He started a immigration service. He firstly became a Canadian citizen and then settled in US, not in Canada. He had opened immigration office in a couple of countries, including one in Mumbai. We will know whether it was really an immigration office
Or something.
or it was a front for conducting intelligence operations or terror operations.
Ravi.
So we'll get to know what was happening there. We'll get to know what were his contacts in ISI. He is a childhood friend of David Hadley. They're in the same school. He has been a resource provider for these at least 2 terror operations I know. One of them was this one.
One was in Europe.
One was in Europe. Now, another thing which came to my notice is Rana was prosecuted in US for 26/11 attacks, Mumbai attacks, and he was acquitted.
Mm.
The bizarre thing was, Indian government did not take adequate interest in the sense we did not feel top lawyers. So he got acquitted and he was roaming free. Secondly, Rana also has contract with Lashkar-e-Taiba. David Headley was trained in LET camp. So that connection also will get to know. More than that, we'll get to know, was he in communication with ISI when this terror attack was unfolding? So we'll get to know a lot of details. And all those people who did help him out, which I'm sure there are many of them here in India, they must be getting worried, and rightly so. So it is a good catch for India. It is a very good catch for India.
Diplomatically, how difficult was it? Because generally,
very difficult.
I remember, the extradition of Abu Salem. That was from Portugal. And that was another difficult thing when Mr. Advani was Home Minister.
Yes.
So, because only after 2018 we could actually pursue this case, because till 2018 it was the US courts who were actually
even now US does not extradite people abroad. They prosecute them themselves, and so does Britain, right? And they will never send back a high-profile target, because in most of these things, somewhere or the other, you will find the involvement of US also. So they don't want that to become public knowledge. So they'll never send back anybody. They will give you access, like they give access for David Headley to interrogate him there. And I do not know, but they may be briefing them earlier what not to tell. Right.
No, and anyway, he had become an approver, so there was
he was
not
a DA
much,
actually. He was a DA agent,
Yeah.
Directorate of Enforcement. He was their informant. So getting back, I did not expect, actually. I did not expect. It was I must say, the Foreign Ministry, or rather Dr. Jaishankar, has done a fabulous job. It was very difficult.
Now, let us come to your book, sir. What was the idea behind this book? Means we know David Headley, we know Tawhur Rana. Then there are various dots that needs to be connected when it comes to the Samjhauta blast or Mumbai terror attack. So, what was the idea? A retired colonel getting into this, book related to Saffron Terror, and in a way claimed to be a fiction, but still there is a lot of truths that is.
You see, most of the information is in any case available in public domain, right? Some of things you have to analyze and assess how possibly it could have happened, right? Like, for example, a meeting in ISI headquarters, right? Or a Musharraf's meeting with his ISI chief and these kind of things. That's a little difficult. So you have to, having known how meetings do take place and what possibly conspire between the meetings, so you can have a fairly good guess. But most of the information written in this book is available in public domain, right? You see, some of the things which happened or which were happening in the country pained me a lot. When Colonel Purohit was branded as a terrorist by ATS, I said, "Bahut ho gaya. It is too much," because I'll tell you another thing. Not only since 1947, ever in Indian Army, a officer was never ever a terrorist. Right? Never. And there's a reason for it. And Purohit was from military intelligence. I'm from military intelligence. So we know, we deal with these terrorists, with these criminals every day. Why officer does not become terrorist? There's a reason for it. The reason is, you know, the life of a terrorist is very limited. Either he will get killed or he will go to jail. Only two. And there is no terrorist who has lived more than a couple of years of terror activities. So the officer will not take that kind of risk, even if he is ideologically motivated. Right? And secondly, you see, the training in army from day one is that you take up arms for the safety of the country, for the safety of the people, to defend the country, the honor of the country. And the training from day one is such that, forget about officer, even a Jawan or a junior commissioned officer will never ever work against the interest of the country. So an officer, that too a colonel, he was a lieutenant colonel, serving lieutenant colonel. He had done wonderful work in J&K, where he had a very prolonged tenure. So I thought there is something amiss. I had not met him while in service because he was very junior. I came out in 2004. So our paths never crossed. And then I started digging out, I started talking to people. And I came to know that he has been denied bail by Supreme Court. Not once, but twice. Whereas on the similar grounds, the bail had been granted to many other people. And both times, the bail application or bail plea went to a particular bench, the same bench, which is again little bizarre, right? So I thought, okay, let me work on it. So I started collecting information. There's a lot of information which was available in public domain. Then from intelligence, being from an intelligence world, I knew few people around, you make some inquiries. People said, don't quote me, but this is what happened. So I thought, let me put it in perspective. So it took me about a year and a half to write this book. So I sent it to few publishers. One of them told me, we'll publish it, but you change the names. So I said, I'll not change the names, because if you change the names, then the soul of book is lost. So I said, I'll not change. Ultimately, I found a publisher and the book was published. And it was very well received. It was reviewed by some very eminent people, like the Sunday Guardian published a review written by a professor of JNU, who by DNA are leftists. So it came as a big surprise. Then a review was written by one of the former Air Force Vice Chief. I had never even met him. And Indian Foundation boss wrote a very good review. So it was very well received. And then one day, I get a ring from Bollywood. He says, we have read your book and we want to make a movie on it. In fact, I got a call from two parties. One of them wanted to make a, what you call it, that serials out of it, and one wanted to make a movie.
Now OTT platforms and OTT series,
so many things,
they have become very popular.
So then I had a meeting with both of them, and ultimately I decided that a movie may be little better, because public receives it a little better way, and more people have access to movie than the OTT platform. So this is how the movie was made. When movie was being made, I embedded a veteran with them so that militarily they do not err. He was with them throughout the shooting. And I also used to go very often to see how things are going. So this is how it happened.
Now, large part of this, sir, you have the plot, so to say, of the story is somewhere in Islamabad, no? Somewhere in Rawalpindi. And first, especially second chapter onwards, large things that are happening in this book are actually happening in Pakistan. So how did you try to connect the dots as far as the way planning, because there are three different plots that actually you are trying to connect. One is Malegaon, the other is
Samjhota Blast,
and then the third is Mumbai. And people associated with this are also from different things. Colonel Purohit is known, and people who have vouched about his integrity, about his training, about his skills within the system where, you know, were there even then. Then there were people in ATS, very competent IPS officers. Then you have Abhinav Bharat-like entity, which you have dealt with. So we will talk about them. But first about Pakistan. How difficult was it, and how did you try to connect the dots about what was going on in Pakistan?
It was difficult, but not impossible. You talk to people, you talk to people who travel to Pakistan. You talk to people who have interrogated terrorists who have come from there, who were trained there, who knew where and how the training happens. So it was difficult, but it was doable. It was doable.
No, like for example, you have talked about the planning that is going on in ISI headquarters, for example. So you mean to say that post 2002-3 onwards, this was a systematic plot by Pakistan
I get your point. I get
this idea of Saffron Terror.
I get your point. You see what had happened after Pakistan got a beating in Kargil. They wanted to do something big. Why they wanted to do it was some of the senior generals in Pakistan Army and in politics did not approve the Kargil operations of General Musharraf. I mean, it achieved nothing. Now, 2-3 things happened at that time. When the Pakistani army people were killed in Kargil, initially they refused to even take back their dead body. They said, no, they are not our, they are all what they call them, militants who are fighting at their own. So ultimately they accepted that this is a regular army. In fact, the first PW I interrogated. I still remember his name. He was from 5 NLI, Northern Light Infantry, Naik Inayat Ali, who when they got deployed there. So, and the whole world knew we were sharing information with US people also, with CIA. So they knew. CIA in any case knows everything. They only decide when to remain quiet and when to speak and how much to speak. But they know. They know it. So they knew it's a Pakistani game. So what happened? Musharraf thought his popularity is going down because Kargil failed. And secondly, he did not even take it to confidence senior army generals, and Air Force and Naval Chief were not even consulted. So he said, let us do something big. Kayani was aspiring to become army chief of the Musharraf. So he cooperated, right? Even Kayani was not very happy about the Kargil operation. No one was, because it did not achieve any strategic or tactical aims, and they suffered a lot of casualties. So it was not taken kindly. So they wanted to do something big. Inspired by 9/11, they said, let us do something spectacular, so that this Kashmir comes into focus of the entire world. You see, in Pakistan, Kashmir is an existential necessity for Pakistan army and Pakistan politicians. In the absence of Kashmir, why do they need an army? They have no one else to fight to. So they need it.
An idea of Pakistan also will not sustain, because otherwise there are so many fictions within.
Exactly.
What we are seeing in
This is what we are seeing
Balochistan.
today. So they have to keep this Kashmir mudda alive at all times. So they wanted to do something big. So a plan was conceived by Musharraf. He says, okay, Kargil failed, doesn't matter. Let us do something where there is no direct involvement of army. So there is a factor of denial. You can always deny, because a lot of terrorist actions at that time were happening in India. Across the country. They also knew that there is a coalition government in India. So nothing much will happen. You see, every move of a government, especially the Prime Minister, is watched by all countries. So they knew Dr. Manmohan Singh will not go out of the way to react or to retaliate. Right? So they got encouraged. And that is how the LET was roped in. So the terrorists were trained, given a lot of training by Pakistan Army. They were sent to Afghanistan and Kashmir to fight, just to battle harden them before they execute this operation. A lot of things were discussed, whether to go by land route, but then land route entailed starting from Kashmir and going throughout the hinterland of India. So chances of getting caught are brighter. Sea route is always safer. So this is how these things happened. They did achieve their aim for few days. Right? 9/11 finished in few hours. We had to fight for 3 days. And so they targeted all those places. It's not only that. You see, their game was they target those places where you have a lot of foreigners.
Especially Israeli and
Israelis, US people, Britain.
even
Only
Brits.
then it will make a big news. Otherwise, it doesn't matter to Western world whether 200 Indians or 2,000 Indians or 20,000 Indians are killed. It is only when they get casualties that they react. So they very wisely chose targets. And it was not done in 1 day or 1 week or 1 month. David Hadley came here couple of times, stayed here. He opened a gym also, incidentally.
In 2006 onwards, the continuous planning was going.
He opened a gym, and that is how he used to collect information. He carried out recce of a number of places, including few places in UP. He made friends with Rahul Bhatt,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
To get access into that
High profile.
high profile
Bollywood.
Bollywood. Yeah. I'm very sure he would have had some political context too.
Hmm.
The politician may not know, I mean, possibly would not have known that he's working on behest of ISI, and his name was David Headley. So no one knew he is a Pakistani origin man, and he was white in color. Acha, he had no accent. You see, generally what happens when we speak in English, you have that accent of your native place. He never had that because since childhood, he was brought up in US. So he carried out recce of the places over a period of time. He made videos. Then those videos were discussed at length in ISI headquarters. And then they chose the targets to get maximum coverage in the world media. And they achieved their aim.
Sir, you have very boldly and I must say courageously, which generally armed forces people do not get into, political names in this book. And your actual plot starts with a conversation among then top leaders about a case related to the attack on RSS headquarters in Nagpur.
Nagpur, yeah.
It was a Lashkar-e-Toiba attack. And all the people who were involved. So, how do you see this unfolding even before, much before actually 2008 attack, that this conceptualization of saffron terror was already taking place?
No, I'll tell you 2-3 things. Firstly, I am from army. It is the only, I would say, institution in the country which is 100% secular. And it remains so. It remains so. Your other institutions have a person will get affected by an ideology, maybe by religion, maybe by caste. There is nothing of that sort in army. It never was. It never will be. You will not believe, well, we did not even north-south divide which is happening now. We had a lot of South Indian officers, South Indian troops. The only institution I remember, we were in Palampur long time ago. We had a Bihar battalion close by. Their commanding officer was a Muslim, Colonel Malik. But in army, we have a tradition every Sunday. There is a mandir. We call it mandir parade. It is not a parade, but you go to temple every Sunday. There is a havan, there is a arti. Colonel Malik used to go to mandir. We'll do havan. We'll have what we tie up around the wrist and do arti. Right? If I'm an officer commanding a Sikh battalion, I'll go to Gurdwara. Okay? It never happens anywhere else. It happens only in army. So army is 100% secular. Irrespective of what people talk these days, and we never knew the caste or religion or creed of a person. You are a soldier, you are a soldier. Right?
You're the culture and the traditions of your battalion are more important than your personal beliefs.
Yes, always, always. You fight for the izzat of the paltan. But when I saw these kind of things happening in politics, Digvijay Singh, soon after 26/11, went and launched a book, 26/11 RSS ki Sajish. I mean, it is not done. You do not work against the national interest of the country. That is a no-go. Right? That is one aspect. So, I very strongly felt that I must give actual names of everybody whom I perceived to be involved in any activity. Right? So I gave. It was tough. You know, I was mentally prepared to land up in Tihad. And I was told by when I sent it to some publisher, he said, you publish it, you will go to Tihad. Make I don't mind. Huh? It makes no difference to me. Huh? दो वक्त की रोटी खाने यहाँ नहीं जेल में खा लेंगे. So how does it matter? But you must live up to your convictions.
No, my point is different, sir. The point is, people generally believe that it is only after 2008 some idea was conceived of Hindu terror or
It was
something.
conceived by Shinde, the then Union Home Minister, who said saffron terror words in Union Parliament. It is in public domain. Before that, why they did that? Because, but this greed for power culminated into making a dedicated vote bank of Muslims. And I believe the Congress and other parties also, just they wanted to have a dedicated vote bank. They knowingly kept Muslims backward, knowingly, because they thought if they become very well educated, they will understand the game and they may not side with them.
No, that you have quoted even Sonia Gandhi extensively, how you know, as we should ensure that Muslims and Dalits side with us as a political party.
Yes, they do. Even now, that same thing is happening even now.
Yes. No, my again, sir, you when we are talking about the attack on RSS headquarters, that is somewhere in 2005.
2005-6.
October, precisely, you know, around Diwali 2005.
Correct.
Now, if then Digvijay Singh is talking to officers like Mani or Karkare about Bajrang Dal and Vishwa Hindu Parishad and RSS elements being involved in terror activities.
It happened in Home Minister's office.
In 2005-6 itself.
Where Mani was present and so was Karkare. Right? Now, I had spoken to Mani also. He was a undersecretary. And then he was called to, because no senior man was available. Generally, undersecretaries don't go to the Home Minister. But he was called. He was sitting in a cafeteria. So he came and Karkare was sitting and Digvijay Singh was sitting. And Mani was told to give some brief about some terror activity which happened.
The Nanded blast that which we used to refer quite often, Digvijay Singh.
So in that, he was asked again and again. Right? It's now you find out there was a involvement of RSS or Bajrang Dal and basically Hindu outfits. Right? He says, sir, nahi tha. Aisa kuch bhi nahi tha. He says, no, you are wrong. Karkare was sitting there. And let me tell you one more thing. If Kasab was not taken alive, 26/11 would have been termed as Hindu terror attack. And RSS would have been banned.
That clearly is visible by here. Interesting, you know.
Digvijay Singh did not know by that time, because the interrogation of Kasab was not over when he launched that book. He did not know the details. If Kasab was not taken alive, this book 26/11 RSS ki Sajish
would have been established.
Would have made a bestseller. A movie would have been made. ठीक है? Lot of RSS, Bajrang Dal and what all outfits we have would have been inside the jail. and there would have been a lot of unrest in the country.
You have quoted one interesting conversation, sir. Excellent progress. You are doing good job. You have bright future ahead. Lieutenant Colonel Purohit, Sadhvi Pragya and Swami Asan were good catches. I hope you are treating them well. This is Mr. Digvijay Singh.
Digvijay Singh, in fact, if you remember, whether it was, it is in public domain, Digvijay Singh was not holding any position in the government.
Obviously,
right.
he was a party office bearer at the most.
Right. He was in direct communication every day with Karkare. He himself accepted that. Right. It is in public domain. In what capacity? In what capacity? You see, these are the unanswered questions. Right. Even when he was meeting Union Home Minister, when money went inside, that time also he was not a minister or holding any government position. So you don't discuss these things when you are not holding a position.
It was basically a breach of your
oath. Yes. So this is, I mean, it's not done.
So, sir, how do you see this? Was it just a political, these two things coming together? On the one hand, because it didn't happen accidentally that, somebody planning from Pakistan and Kasab and company coming with Kalewa and, portraying themselves as Hindus, in some way. And Congress also trying to brand them Hindus. How did this congruence of interest took place?
Difficult to say. Difficult to say, but the thing is,
because now you are extrapolating it up to 2019 when Manishankar Iyer went and
the thing is, they all had identity cards in the name of Hindus. They all had clavas tied around the wrist. They all were expected to die. Another plot was to unfold after their death. Right? Just because Kasab was taken alive, this plot remained.
Thanks to Sub-Inspector Tukaram Omle.
Ex-army, incidentally.
Oh, yes. Ex-army.
He is ex-army. Right. He gave up his life, but he did. It was very difficult to take a terrorist alive, but he did that. I'm not very sure, but I feel there would have been tremendous amount of unrest in this society if it was termed as Hindu terror attack. There would have been lot of unrest. Because, you see, lies do not stand for a long time. Ultimately, people would know the truth. But before that, some political parties would have achieved their aim of having a little more votes. Unfortunately, sometimes in greed of power, the national interests are compromised, which should not happen. Little bit it happens in other democracies also, but there is a threshold beyond which people don't go against the national interests. In our country, there are no hold bars. You go to any length as long as you get into the seat of power. You think you have done your bit. Because I don't know, but I was discussing with the people before you came. After Mahabharata, the last great war we fought was Mahabharata, which possibly was about 5,000 years ago. Lord Krishna, after the war, came to Gandhari, who then cursed him that the way you have killed my son, the Yadakul will also be killed, and he accepted that. He accepted that curse. So she asked him, he said, Krishna, you are the incarnation of Vishnu. You could have stopped the war. He said, yes, I could have stopped it. He said, then why you did not stop? He said, Gandhari, once in a while, when there is a lot of adharm, there is a requirement. There must be cleansing of society so that those adharmi elements get eliminated. So it was essential.
You know, even after seeing the scenes of partition was a very, very, traumatic.
It was the biggest tragedy of the century. No one talks about it. How many Jews were killed were killed by Hitler? It was more than 50% less.
Yes. Around
than what
8 lakhs and
people got killed in partition. And why? Again, a personal greed. Let me tell you, forget about Jinnah. If our leaders, Gandhiji, Nehru, Patel, they were three most important leaders. If they had put their foot down, he says, we will fight Britishers, we will not accept partition. You see the size of country? We would have avoided 3 wars. We would be touching every border of Central Asian countries. Right? But they accepted it. No, India would have been divided because Britishers had decided long ago that India must be divided and must be kept weak. Right? But if they had put their foot down, Britain has become very weak after Second World War. It was not possible for them to keep India under control. And they gave freedom to most of the countries in next few years. So India would have become free. They should not have accepted. They accepted. Why they accepted? उन्होंने कहा यार आधी जिंदगी जेल में निकल गई. Now is the time to enjoy the perks of power. So they accepted. Gandhiji famously told once that partition of India on my dead body. Then what happened after that? He also accepted. And we had millions of people who died. The families destroyed. Right? I met some of them long back when they came from Pakistan, empty-handed. Half the families in Pakistan, half the families killed. I mean, you can never ever forget that. Again, it was avoidable. But and you talk of freedom struggle. How many did we had a population of 30 crores when we were fighting Britishers? How many people were killed in India? Total. Tell me.
We don't have records, sir. In fact, there are many anonymous people who got killed.
No, how many? How many? Multiply by 10. When US fought Britishers, their total population was 80 lakhs. You know their fatalities? 58,000 killed. 58,000 killed. We had 30 crore population. So if you work out the ratio, how many we should have lost? It was not even 1/100th of that. That is how societies are made. All right.
But again, this is a very curious thing, because at some level your book suggests that there was a congruence of interest between the way Congress was doing its politics and the way Pakistan was trying to bring in the saffron.
There was. I'll tell you. Okay. We had a yearly Home Secretary's meeting. Once it was in India, once it was in Pakistan. That year, it was to happen in Pakistan. One coincidence that this terror attack happened when there was a meeting in Pakistan, not in India, right? The Home Secretary, the Additional Secretary, and a couple of other very senior officers were all in Pakistan on 25th, if I remember correctly. They were to come back on 25th. I think the meeting was on 24th, if I remember correctly. They were to come back on 25th. Meeting was over. But he says, we want to take you for sightseeing. And they were taken to Murray. Right? They were taken to Murray for sightseeing. Now, Murray does not have internet connections and those kinds of things. So they went out of communication. I mean, is there any man who can think that it was just a coincidence? The Union Home Secretary was out of communication, and so were the Additional Secretary. The decision makers were taken to Murray, which is not well connected communication-wise. Right? Another officer was included, the Lenthar, who was not part of the team earlier. No names. Right? It was on his suggestion that they were taken. They say no. The Home Secretary still made some feeble efforts, but then they got tempted. Yaar, chalo, ek din ke liye ghum le. They had no inkling that this kind of things can happen. But so everything, if you connect the dots, everything gets connected.
But even the political bosses were not aware that anything such thing can happen, because why I'm curious, sir, about this particular thing, because Congress kept this plot alive.
Intelligence, you never get a complete picture. You have to connect the dots. There was a inkling that something big may happen. You know, you have those inputs, the various intelligence.
And there was a series, you know, Hyderabad was there, Pune was there. You know,
but then we took it for granted. Every month we have a terror attacks. How does it matter? The skill was not known.
But even after the attack, Congress tried to continue with the Saffron Terror plot.
No. You see, another curious fact. NSG should have been there within 2 hours. They are on alert for half an hour notice. It takes 2 hours for an aircraft to reach from Delhi to Mumbai. Right? So maximum within 3.5 hours to 4 hours, they should have been there. They were not. They were stalled here. Then I think, if I remember correctly, the aircraft was changed. Right? My point is, why they did not call the Naval Marine Commandos? There were some paramilitary forces also deployed close by. They were not called.
Our Marcos are very, very efficient thing. We used it in Maldives also, and
we trained some of them.
Yeah.
They're very good. They're excellent. They're excellent.
Or
any paramilitary forces, any security elements. They are only terrorists. There are only 10 of them here. Right? So you could have called in anybody who was deployed within a radius of 10-15 kilometers. No one was called. And we had unnecessary casualties also. So these are the dots.
No, but unfortunately what we see, sir, we apparently assume that at some point Pakistan tried to create a plot of, first of all, why Pakistan was thinking about creating this Hindu terror attack, and why Congress tried to encash on it elections after elections, almost till 2014, 15, 16. Congress has been talking about this.
You see, Pakistan tried to create it for 2 reasons. A permanent division in Indian society between Hindus and Muslims. That was one reason. And secondly, you see, Bombay is the financial capital of the country. terror attacks at this scale happening in financial capitals of the country would have deterred investors, right? So they would have achieved their couple of aims. They wanted it there.
And unfortunately, Congress tried to take political benefit out of it.
They always take political benefit. They always, you see, their policy right from 1947 hinged around to have permanent vote banks. They had a permanent vote bank of scheduled caste, scheduled tribe till Mayavati happened or Kashiram happened. Then it went away from them, and they could never get their trust back after that. They had a permanent vote bank of Muslims for quite some time. When Modi came, they still have to a larger extent, but you see, I have been talking to a number of Muslims. They have not been discriminated in any government schemes which have been launched. In fact, they have benefited maximum. Like you have that, what calls it? That housing scheme. They have got Awas Yojana.
Even Ujjwala,
Ujjwala Yojana, all schemes, because they are, I'm sure, in Indian society, these people are still poorer than the other segments of society, and they need to come up to that level, because you cannot leave 18-20% people behind and move forward. The society will not benefit, the country will not benefit, and the present government has done it. But still, because of marketing of Congress and selfish interests of Muslim Maulanas, Maulvis and leaders, political leaders, they don't want Muslims to get better education, right? They don't want them to come up because they will lose control. Na? सीधी सी बात है, they will lose control. उनको कौन पूछेगा फिर?
So can we safely say that the Saffron Terror plot was conceived in Rawalpindi, but actually popularized by Congress?
It was conceived in both places.
Oh, simultaneously? Almost.
Yes, simultaneously or otherwise, but conceived in both places for various different reasons, but both places. And not only conceived then, for them, it remains relevant even today.
So, how far do you see now this, after Kasab, getting back Tawhur Rana would finally put curtains down on this deadly plot of...
Not much, because Congress must have started, and the Muslim leaders, the likes of Owaisi and others, must be already working on a narrative. They know what he is likely to say. They possibly would be working on the parallel narrative to counter that. And Indian society being what Indian society is, there'll be discussions on TV like we have every day. You have 4 to 6 panelists. One is from BJP, one is from Congress, one is from OSC party. So everybody will, there is a saying, apni apni dhabli aur apna apna rag. Then, and people who will listen to them, like us, the common people, they will not know what is happening. For them, anybody who speaks louder is more truthful. So they would be working on parallel narrative. So nothing much will happen.
But we can hope that...
Only thing which will happen is in the government, in the intelligence agency, we will know how their designs.
So hopefully at least Operation Ghazi will be completely... will be able to connect the dots missing in Operation Ghazi.
Absolutely.
And what are those dots that you are expecting to,
Involvement of ISI. That is very important because they denied everything. Right. ISI involvement. involvement of sleeper cells here in India, ठीक है? Involvement of elements from criminal world, like these gangs.
Mumbai underworld was still
And
very
most
interesting.
important, involvement of politicians. There is involvement of every element of these at some level or the other. So
Otherwise, you
we'll
believe
get
that
to know
it wouldn't.
that. Yeah,
Otherwise, you believe that it wouldn't have been possible.
Yeah, it's not even possible. You know, it's a first-hand information. The person has done it, seen it, is the party. Other would be the guesswork, na?
So thank you, Colonel, for sparing your time and giving us insights into this. Again, I'm saying that high-ranking officials and moles from enemies. This is a fantastic narration about the kind of collusion that must have taken place between intelligence officers and politicians.
It was far bigger in scale than 9/11. Right, far bigger.
In terms of operations.
In terms of operations. In terms of time. Matlab, complete country for 3 days did not know what to do. I mean, that was a tragedy.
So thank you, Colonel, first of all for daring to write a book. Despite being a
thank you very much.
Threat of landing in Tihar, you dare to do that, and thank you for speaking to us and throwing some light with your experience and as a veteran and as an author while researching on this book. So friends, I hope you must have got some fantastic insights about this Operation Ghazi that took place in Mumbai and what was happening before that and what happened after that. And as Colonel said, perhaps Saffron Terror was a plot that was conceived simultaneously in Pakistan and in Congress headquarters, and there were many names that still and many dots that are still missing, and Tawhur Rana's extradition perhaps would help us in connecting those dots, and hopefully as a society, as a nation, we would be able to come out of this a divisive strategy started by Congress and benefited politically, started by Pakistan and politically benefited by Congress within India. The Saffron Terror finally put to rest, but at least we would be able to expose Pakistan and ISI and their its hand in terror activities in Pakistan. The terror epicenter of the world would be finally exposed completely and isolated further. Just hope. So I hope you enjoy this discussion. Continue to watch your Organiser YouTube channel. Subscribe, share, like our conversations, and do become a part of Voice of the Nation. Thank you for watching.